G'day and welcome to the Hunters Campfire Podcast. My name's Mark and along with good mate Ian, we're here to help with all things hunting. If you're looking to start but don't know where to begin, you want to make the most of your next trip away or even plan that hunt of a lifetime, we've got something for you. You'll find our podcasts on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon and plenty of others. And if you want more, head over to our YouTube channel, The Hunters Campfire, where we have plenty of how-to and hunting videos along with the full video production of every podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good hunting.
Pause. I think I know what you're going to say.
Okay. Enlighten me what you think I'm going to say. Because that's a very dangerous thing to actually try and bet on. Because I could just say fucking anything. Go ahead.
He likes to talk.
Right, so here we are. We're back. Hey, fellas, what's going on? Anything interesting on a Wednesday afternoon? Other than the fact it's bloody hot.
Stinking hot down here as well, that's for sure. Jeez.
Yep. I just come back from little athletics with my sons, and they weren't really into it.
No.
I jumped in the pool earlier, and it was like jumping in a bath. It was not pleasant.
No, they weren't into it.
Just teach them the pool.
Yeah.
I can't do public pools anymore. It's just the worst.
I've got my own pool. Yes.
No, we joined a club that has pools, but mate, the kids come out cleaner when they go in. There's like a dip. If you get a northerly, you can smell it. You go, oh yeah, well, it's not good. So, it just comes out shiny. Look at that, and they're all blonde. Oh yeah, it works all right.
And not from the chlorine either.
There's like a dip. It's a kid's dip.
Can't do it.
No. Nothing in that pool. There's nothing in that pool that would harm you. That's for
very last time I went to a public pool, they had 3 brown alerts in half an hour.
Man. No, I must admit, I've heard the joke. I've never seen that.
Haven't you? Well, my friend come to Toowoomba and go to the pool.
Mate, what public pool do you go to?
It's Toowoomba. It's Toowoomba.
It's disgusting. I can't. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. That could scar someone. Yeah.
I've been back. Not once ever. Nope. Not happening. I'm going to put my own pool in and suffer through maintenance for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad once it's in, to be honest.
No, we actually, as I said, there's a club close by and they've got 3 pools, and we joined it this year for summer holidays, and we've been every weekend. And as I said, the boys no longer have anything like ear infections or anything like that. They're just clean. Their fingernails are translucent white. It's got that much chemicals in it.
Oh, God, it's bad. It's so bad. Anyway, when I had to talk about pools, we were talking about binos. Is what we
we were. And you were going to guess what I was going to say.
The lucky recipient of the Steiner laser rangefinder binos, which are just awesome. I'm really happy with them. But Mark was going to tell me some fancy feature. I should put what I think it is in the chat because Mark doesn't know how to use the chat. We'll see if I'm right.
Right, let's do it. Go for it.
I know how to use the chat. I just don't look at it.
Well, he's going to look at it now. He can't help it. I want to send Jono.
I'm going to send Jono a message. Okay, I'm looking at the chat and nothing's happening.
Say now anyway. All right, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to send Jono.
Okay, this is like a test.
Yeah,
see if I know what you're talking about.
You should have changed it now.
Well,
anyway,
we know you, Mark.
Now I understand now. Okay.
I'm relying on Mark's integrity not just to come up with some weird random stuff now.
No, I wasn't. And it's so. Whilst you guys are doing that, about those binoculars, they are Steiner Predator LRFs, laser rangefinders in 10x42. I know all this because I own a pair myself. For whatever reason, those Steiner binoculars, that's the Predator series, are just fantastic. You can still buy the old non-laser rangefinder Predators,
Why
and they're
would you?
cheapest chips now. They're cheapest chips. So if you're looking for, you're looking, price conscious, and people going, should I buy Vortex? Should I buy this? I'd go those things. They're fantastic. I did a review. Brett once sent me like 5 pairs of binoculars to review, and I can tell you after about the fourth one, you kind of start to it becomes a bit of a drag. But what I found was those Predators, which were the cheapest ones, I thought were the best bang for buck. And so I was pretty happy when they brought out the laser rangefinder, and they're a fantastic piece of glass. And
they're very, very clear. But I was talking to someone this morning about them. He's like, what are they like compared, or this afternoon, Hendo, I was talking to Hendo, and he said, what are they like compared to your other ones? I said, they're bloody crystal clear, unbelievable, but I'm comparing it to my Zeiss Terrors that are covered in blood, dust, and sweat, probably never been cleaned in 6 or 7 years. So they're pretty damn good, brand new out of the box. On that subject, I'll throw those Zeiss Terrors up on the page for sale now.
Oh, they're not going to sell.
Blood and shit come for free, team. It's just the way it'll be.
Brown alert.
They're good binos, but I'm saying goodbye to them. Someone will get a cheap pair of decent binos. They're good.
Zeiss is a good brand.
Yeah,
no, it's good. They're a good product.
So what I found with them, I
started with when I was hunting in the scrub.
Okay, so I missed all that. So
what
I was going to say was,
jumped around, but
like you, I got the binos like a day before I was going away, and I was going down to Bathurst or past Bathurst to hunt with Gemma back in February. So I got them at home, and I set them up here at home, put the battery in, and did all that stuff, and had a little bit of a play with them. But I was staying at Mudgee that night, so I drove down. Got to the place I was staying at and sitting on the floor, and I was trying to tuning them there at night, getting them ready for the first day hunt. So I was playing around with them. And when I went, so the first day I was out with Gemma and we spotted some goats, and I said, let's just watch these goats. And we spoke about goat behavior and stuff like that and watched them. And when I picked up the binos to range them, they didn't work. And I went, oh, bugger, something's gone wrong here. So I was playing around, undoing the batteries and doing this stuff, and they wouldn't work. And I was going, fantastic. And then luckily, I pushed the button and I had them at a slight different angle, and I saw them illuminate. And I went,
what illuminated?
What? So the little reticle inside the illumination, the little display came up again.
Yeah.
But I didn't have them again. I just kind of went, oh, there's a flash of red there. And what I realised was, when I set them up the night before, I set them up for night, so the little red was pretty low, because it was nice and bright. But in the bright sunlight, you can't see that red. So I literally, kind of had I hear it come. So they were working, they just weren't set at the right illumination for daytime use. So, in the afternoon and evening, they were fantastic. So that's what it was. So that was the thing I learned about them, is that you have to set them up for a daytime illumination, which actually has to be brighter to counteract the amount of light gathering they get. The other little trick that I found with them is that in the morning, when it's still just on dawn, if you hit the illumination, you can see better.
Well, this is what you were saying.
It kind of introduces a bit more light into the lens. So, if you think you're looking at something, you go, actually, that it brings more light into the lens, and you can see better in early light with them.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. So I stand corrected. I was going to say that they have the ability in hunt mode, because they have a hunt mode, to capture the distance of an object through scrub layer. So it can pass through the scrub to a solid target rather than capturing the waving scrub in front of you, which I thought was a pretty nice little feature. I'm going to test that this weekend and see how that works out. But I thought that was a pretty nice feature.
That is pretty
It's something to do with reflective and non-reflective bounce back. because I recently reviewed a rangefinder that actually separated. So, on a reflective object, it's this distance. On a non-reflective object, it's actually not the same distance. So I must work on something like that. The one downside of those LRFs is you have to look for a different style of clamp if you're going to put them on a tripod.
Yeah.
Because the knurl that you usually unscrew, that you put attachment to, that's actually the battery case. That's actually the battery, so you can't do that. So I've just got this basically like a clamp system that runs over the top of them, and they use that works fine.
Can you give Spartan do the one that goes around?
Yeah, but the trouble is you got to have I was looking at Spartan and I was trying to think, how can I get the Spartan and drill a couple of holes in it and actually make it to use a standard tripod mount, so I wouldn't have I could use it like a a standard camera plate. That's why I was looking at that with the Spartan, because that would be good if you could get a clamp-on ring and you could put a standard tripod plate on it. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You could run the a camera and the binos off the same tripod.
So I see
I
see the rings that I looked at. They've got a little base plate on the ring that clamps into your tripod, right? Into like where your camera would normally clamp into it, but it was made for like a wall mount, like a Peak Design size little square. That's the ones I was looking at.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen one that actually. The one I saw was more of like a socket. I'm looking, So yeah, I want something that would be
round, and that would be good if you had that type of mount. But like the tripod I have has the plate for the big camera on it. There's no way you're going to have a plate sitting on the bottom of your binos. You never get them back in your bino rig. So
no.
I'm going to have to start looking around to see what options there are.
That's it, because the easy option is the one that I've got, which is basically a plastic plate that goes. It's just, you put it sits easily on your on your tripod, and it just has a strap, and you just literally strap it over, and that straps onto the tripod.
Oh, so it sits on top of the plate.
Yep. So it's like a plastic cradle with a strap, and you put them on that, and then you just Velcro them over the top. And because of where the controls are, you can actually move them quite forward, and it's still stable. But I did a test. I had my old Nikon rangefinder and my Steiner HX42s, 10x42s. You put them on the scales, and then you put the LRFs on the scales, and it's basically the same weight. So, and when you kind of compare them, they're actually really, those LRFs are just standard 10x42s with a rangefinder bolted onto them. They're not any really graded size compared to the two object, to a standard rangefinder and to a standard pair of binos, which is really nice.
Yeah, the binos themselves, look at them, they're just binos. They don't have any bulges or anything where they've tried to add technology. It's all very well hidden inside.
They're simply the body length is simply the brains part. That's all it is. So yeah, they're quite a compact for what they are. But they're a 10x42 anyway, so they're a bigger bino to start with.
Did you find them heavy? Yeah.
Well, as I said, they're pretty much the same weight once you compare both items.
I'm comparing them to the 8s, not so they're certainly heavier, but they're pretty well balanced. I'll tell you after I get back from Nundle how fatigued I was using them, but like my tripod's got a big base on it, a big base plate that the camera slides on. So taking that off and just resting them on the top is going to work fine. And I even sort of half thought that I could take a Velcro strap and just go straight over the top of it so it holds it. But I'll let you know. I sat outside using them when I was tuning them up this afternoon, and I didn't really get extra tired.
Not noticeable.
Yeah.
Because I had a quick look at the specs, and it said the weight's 35.8 ounces, which a quick Google search is just over a kilo.
Yeah.
So it's not light, but it's not heavy.
Well, as I said, it's about the same as a standard 10x42 plus a rangefinder is about what
And if
they
you're carrying
weigh.
that in your, if you're carrying
That's
that in
it.
your
So
chest rig anyway, yeah.
that's right. So yeah,
But you don't normally pick them up together. So
No.
True.
but if you're
it's about-
carrying them if you're carrying the weight, you're still carrying the weight. So yeah.
Mm.
And the thing about the Steiners is those little eye cups. Generally, I fold them down when they're in the chest rig because you just bring them up and down. And when you want to actually sit in glass for a period of time, you flip them open because they do shut out any
The light
or
coming in.
they limit light, and that seems to I know it seems to stop fatigue as much. Because
Which I suppose
which is important.
that's one of
because
the
the extra magnification gives you a bit of eye strain, I imagine, until you get used to them. Yeah.
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 Okay. Wow. There you go. See, you weren't. I wasn't going to
There's a
say what you
start.
thought I was going to say.
Want to talk about another piece of gear? I've got another new
Sure.
piece of gear.
Sure.
This
Oh,
came
another
from
one. Go for it.
this came from I was listening to Matt Clark's podcast, and he was talking about the Axel headphones,
Oh,
the
yeah.
noise cancelling headphones. So I went, been looking for something like that, so I went and bought some. Not cheap. Axel headphones. So they're,
Like an
buds.
earbud. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have another. They've got a whole range of earplugs. So these are the ones that I'm using around the farm. They're just like normal earplugs, and they I use them on the lawnmower and things like that. On one side you've got Bluetooth connection, and on the other side you've got noise cancelling, and noise cancelling, and it's noise cancelling and noise enhancement. Right, so it blocks out anything over certain decibels, like earmuffs do.
And
But you can tune them to get enhanced hearing, so you can hear what's going on. I'm driving along on the quad bike on the Polaris side by side, and it blocks out the Polaris, but I can hear the dog's footprints 10 meters behind me trying to chase. So that's pretty good. I actually rang Matt after I bought them and said, bloody headphones, mate, they're a dud. I don't know what you're telling everyone they're good for. But I've grown to like them. And the reason I said that was I think I've got a slightly faulty pair. When I turn on Bluetooth and noise cancelling, I get a static buzz in my ears, which is not ideal. But I don't tend to use noise cancelling or noise enhancement when I'm listening to music. Like if I'm just up the farm doing some work with a whip snipper or whatever, I don't tend to use that enhancement. So it hasn't actually impacted the way I use them. They clip onto the back of your shirt so you don't lose them like that, and they just go on and fold over your ear, right? And they just plug in and they're fine. One thing I will say is that noise enhancement part of it that I'll use a lot this weekend while I'm hunting is really good. Like I'm pretty impressed with its capability. As far as music goes, pretty shit house. It's not fantastic sound. Come on, I use earbuds like a lot of people use the Apple Pods. I use a different set. They're really nice sound. I've got some nice headphones that I've always used when I'm traveling. That's good sound. These pretty shit sound. No bass, no real way to amplify that or make it any
Don't buy
better.
them for music.
Don't buy them for music. But so far as I've been looking for headphones that are just easy to wear, and the fact that they can just plug in. We got them the right way around. The fact that they can just plug in and they feel comfortable all day is pretty good, and they just sit over the top. I've had these on working all day, and I don't get sore ears from these like you do with some headphones. So they've been pretty good, and I just sit them on the other side. Now, if I was hunting, I've always been a bit of a bandit for just taking the shot and not worrying about my hearing. And I don't like walking around with earbuds in my ears or things like that, because then you can't hear things. So these have been quite good, and just popping it out like that and, not actually wearing them, but just being able to slot it in before you take a shot, I think is going to be a great thing. So I'm trying to look after my hearing a bit more. So anyway, that's those. Matt, told you they were crap. Actually, grown to like them. Real world testing coming up this weekend. I'll let you know. That's that.
So I've actually just talking about protecting your hearing. I've started wearing. I've got the analog just the basic foam ones that go in your ear, around the neck. $8 from Bunnings. I've been walking around with those. They're blaze orange. I walk around with those around my neck, and then before I take a shot, if I remember, I'll pop them in. I hunted a couple of weeks ago with a guy with a 300 Win Mag with a he had the not a moderator, he had a what's name on the front of his barrel.
He
had it ported at the front. I don't remember
muzzle brake.
Muzzle brake, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Bob. 300 Win Mag with a muzzle brake that basically sprays out on the side, and I put that in, and I could actually sit next to him, and we shot some red deer. So you don't need to go the expensive route, but you have to remember to put them in. That's the big thing. When you've hunted your whole life and not worn deer protection in the field,
a bad habit.
And you can't always. I mean, sometimes it's you're an instinctive shot. You got to run quickly. I know you, Mark. You like to shoot off hand pretty quickly. So you remember to go. Let me put my ears in, and then before you take a shot. But like you, I'm getting a bit older, and I'm starting to be conscious of my hearing. So I think I'm going to try and do that whenever I can.
Yeah, I use the Axel earmuffs, but the electronic ones at the range, and they got both suppression and enhancement, and they're fantastic for the range because you can talk.
Yeah,
but, it cuts
I use digital ones on the range, but these are just when I'm in the field. I've just got a pair of phone ones.
I mean, with the analog, so I've started the boy always has earmuffs, so I wish I started that way myself, but I'm actually interested in those earbuds as well. I want to see how they go because I'd like to. That was it. I was wearing,
these things,
things around. Yeah, those kind. I was wearing just ear protection around my neck for a while, and I found that I just didn't use it. I'd kind of go, we shot some. Oh, by the way,
that's right. I brought these for a reason. I've had them attached to the little, to the front of my bino rig. It's got a little loop. I just have them there, so they're just dangling there. And I'm the same. And I say I don't like to snap shoot. I don't like to offhand shoot. But probably the last 6 deer that I've shot have all been offhand. Very very quick. So I had to try, and I've been looking for ages, come up with something that I can be wearing, and it doesn't impact my hearing. In fact, it's going to enhance my hearing while I'm walking. I just think, it seems to tick a lot of boxes. So we'll see how it goes. I'll boil the buds and send them your way when I'm finished.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I'll get my own, mate.
So I
don't worry about it.
I hunted with a guy in the UK and I hunted quite a bit with him, he was in his late 60s, early 70s. He was as deaf as a doornail, and he used to walk around in the field with digital earmuffs on so that for that enhancement feature, so you could actually hear things. If he didn't wear them, we'd be walking around and the deer would be whistling at us and honking at us, and he didn't hear a thing. So the enhancement certainly helps when you're out in the field, especially if your hearing is starting to go.
Yeah, and talking about this again, these have got the little fuzzy. If you're listening and not looking, if you're looking, I'm showing you little fuzzy noise dampeners that just go onto the microphones. So I said the music was crap. Like, I'm out there, using power tools and stuff on the farm, and I'm listening to music, and I'm happy. I'm okay with it. It's just not the best quality sound I've ever heard out of headphones. The phone, really shit. Right? Oh, really? I've had people calling me on these, and I'm standing up in the paddock. It's not even windy, and they're like, "Where the hell are you? What is the sound?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm wearing shit earbuds. These things are. Anyway, I rang the company and spoke to them about it. And this is not supposed to be a bad plug for the company. I actually rate the product, but I told them that I was having these staticky problems. They said, "Yeah, we'll get that sorted for you. It'll cost you X amount of money to send them back to us, and we'll review them and tell you whether it's going to cost you any money to have them looked at." And I'm like, "You're joking, right? You spent $350 on a product and you're going to charge me because it's faulty?" No. So I didn't enjoy that experience, but I just told them that I'll put it down to bad purchasing online and I'll deal with it and jam it. But I'm making it sound worse than it is. But you get the idea. Don't buy them.
You sell them, mate.
You've already sold it to us. Customers.
A set of used earbuds on the website sometime in the next fortnight. Tell them we see you.
I'm not sure if I'm buying them now. Not sure. Might rethink my purchases.
You went missing, Mark. Did you go get your headphones?
No, had to go do a brown Brown alert, brown alert, brown alert.
Damn, that was fast. It
was fast.
was very
Nipped that
fast.
one off quickly, didn't he?
No, it was an alert. I didn't do it. I had to go alert. I put one out for the boys to keep out.
Any other new gear that anyone's bringing to the table?
Well, I got another knife coming. And I'm actually, if you're watching this and you're wondering why there's a glow on my face, I'm actually looking at knives as we talk. So,
yeah, I got something new.
Chlorine in the pool, right?
No, it's on this side of the face. So, yeah, I've got a new, I got a new Benchmade knife coming, which I'm very excited about. It's purely from a mate in the States sent me a Black Friday message saying, hey, I know you like Benchmades, have a look at this. And I looked at it and it had a 30% discount. And I went, holy smokes, I'm buying that. That is cheap. So I got it and he's sending it to me. So that's
online shopping. Bad for you. Yeah.
Well, especially, yeah. So I mean, even when I factored in him sending it to me and things like that, it's pretty impressive. So I've got that coming. For those interested in those, I'm getting the Benchmade Flyaway, which is quite a small, relatively normal size handle, but quite a small blade. Blaze orange. All my Benchmade knives are now, except for one, are all blaze orange, which makes them very good if you ever drop
down on the dog.
So blaze orange. So that'll be. I'll have I think it's Steep Canyon, the Meat Crafter, this one, and a couple other ones. So yeah, I do like those Benchmade knives.
Very good.
So that's
John, you hinted
that's
that you went and shot some red deer. It was under the radar.
Yeah, it was a bit of a coal trip that I got invited on. Under the radar. Oh, here we go. It was fully legit. Private property hunt, fully legit. He finally clocked it. Fully legit. Yeah, so it was a red deer cull hunt just to go and help the farmer out. Obviously, it's a bit dry. Well, not at the moment, but it has been really. No, it's changed in the last couple of weeks.
It's not dry up there now.
3 weeks ago, it was very dry. Although on the Friday afternoon, we had 29 mils of rain, according to the cocky. We had a big storm come in just as we were heading out for our first hunt. So we went out private block. So to go and help with the red deer cull, just because it's getting dry or had been getting dry. And it was the last opportunity for the year because the hinds were getting ready to drop. So yeah, we went out. We got 5 for the weekend, 5 hinds, so 10 deer in total if you think about it, because they were pregnant. I think 1 was dry, so 9 deer for the weekend. The 2-for-1 special with the hinds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a cull. It's not. Yeah, for the cocky, it's a cull. He wants as many deer taken off as possible. So it was red deer, the hind cull, last one for the year.
So how do you cook those unborn deer? Do you have a recipe that you'd like to share?
I don't cook them. I leave them out in the field, mate.
Do you?
I'm not gonna eat fetus. No, it's bad enough trying to.
Surprised at you, my South African friend. It's all meat.
I draw the line somewhere.
Fair enough. What if it was on the other side of the fence?
Then I wouldn't shoot it.
Fair enough. All right, so that's good. No, I'm curious because people eat weird and wonderful things, and you never know. Yeah. If it was like near term.
Oh, so they were probably 2 weeks away from dropping, 2 to 3 weeks away from dropping, so pretty far advanced. Some were really close, but yeah, I'm not gonna. For me, it's not my favorite time of the year to hunt. I'll really just go out to help the cocky.
Mark?
It was certainly I went up on only a couple of days ago, and it was I was actually surprised how green it was from
big turnaround.
Woodford onwards. To be honest, I was just going, wow, lots of green grass, water on the ground. So I got up to the block. Yeah, surprised how green it was. The guy who owns the block, he's very rarely there when I arrive. So I just let myself on and went up into the hills, changed over all the trail camera memory cards. 2 cameras didn't really do much and didn't pick up too much, so I kept them. I moved them. So basically, I'm trying to bracket where the activity is on the block. So I'll keep moving. So when I find something, I'll keep moving around that. So it was stinking hot though. I missed the first storm, and the second storm drove me off the hill. I thought, I'm not sticking up for this.
It was a doozy, wasn't it? That's the one that had huge come out of it.
Yeah, so I saw it coming, and I went, I'm getting off this hill. And because I've been, back in April, I was up on that hill when the storm hit, and I wasn't going to do that again. So I saw some deer on trail cam, spikers, and hinds, mostly night in this one area, which was a bit odd. I was actually thought there was pigs in this one area, and I set up cameras to pick up pigs, didn't pick up any pigs at all. So moved on, saw some deer at distance on the neighbour's block. It looks like there's been a fire high up there. So the big mountain that basically backs the block, you can actually see into it now. So you can see into it. So that'll be quite interesting come summer and into autumn. And then got to the last trail cam, so worked my way up there, and good sized boar on there, which I was very excited by, because I shot the big boar I shot off that block now 4 years ago was literally about 100 meters away from that one. So that must be the area where the big resident boar pitches camp. So I actually want to try and figure out where I have an idea by the trail cam. I have an idea. I know where he's coming from, and considering I shot another boar from there, I'm pretty sure I knew where he was coming from, which was one of the good dams that often holds water, and it did. I'm wondering where he's going, because it was in the afternoon. So I'm wondering where he's going. So there must be somewhere where he's nesting up there. I'd like to try and find where that is. So that's kind of very happy with the new trail camera. It worked pretty well. And the one thing I did like about the new trail camera is that it gives you a moon cycle. And the little information down the bar gives you a moon cycle. And that big ball was moving on a full moon.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So it's actually, but you've got to have configured the date, etc.
You want to figure the date in. You've got the date in and the time and all that, because that's just But and it has that little the information down below. It might be in Fahrenheit or it's got the temperature estimation that they do and the time and stuff like that. But in that bar, there's a picture of the moon. And it was a full moon. And I went, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's just coincidental, or that might be something to do with his movement. So that'd be quite, if it is, if he's moving around a full moon, because it was still the day when he was moving, but it was obviously the moon phase, it might be worthwhile taking a thermal up there sometime on the moon, see if you can see a big pig moving around. So, yeah. So that's when I can get up there, that's going to be my... That's going to be what I'm looking for in the next little while, whilst keeping on deer movement.
You've got a trip coming up, don't you, Ian?
Yes, I do. Heading to Nundle. Well, by the time this launches, I'll be on my way back, or I will have finished. But yes, I'm heading up tomorrow, and I'll spend. Oh no, my boss doesn't listen to this. Thursday sometime. I'll leave tomorrow after work commitments are finished. I'll have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably come back Monday. But my goal really is to scout out a few new areas for the rut. So, we're only 3 months away from, a bit more, 3 and a bit months away from hunt camp down there again. And with the change of, well, not the change, but with the enforcement of the rules around having to camp where you book, I've decided I'm going to focus more on Nundle than Hanging Rock. I've always really hunted the Hanging Rock area, but a lot more animals have been sighted in Nundle. I've seen quite a few in there now. So I'm going to chase some new spots in Nundle, and I'm just putting together some information for viewers and listeners about the various different types of habitat that you might like to seek out to find deer. There'll be a focus on, the typical fringe country that you find along the Nundle area. Almost everyone chases that fringe country, and to that point, I think everything that jumps that fence waits until well after dark before it does it, and it makes it quite difficult. But I have a theory, right or wrong, it's been working out for me, and that theory is that if you can get off the main drag away from that fringe country 4 or 5 kilometres inland, like if you're looking at Nundle Forest Way, and you've got if you're coming in from Walker, you've got the farmland on your left. If you hang a right and go in as far as you can and set up hunting areas in that area, you're capturing animals that are living and eating and being in their habitat. They're not leaving to go to the farmland 5Ks every night and back 5Ks every night. I just find that they're there and they stay there, and they'll be in a couple of kilometre radius. They'll have a couple of creek systems that they work, and you've just got to start actively finding where they move around in that system, and I think you'll have an easier time hunting, and the animals aren't as skittish because not many people go in that far. So and it's not to say walk that far in. There are tracks that go in that way, but
I'm just trying to
plenty of tracks that go in there, but you'll find if you get down in the creeks, there's plenty of green pick down there. There's plenty of food to sustain deer habitat, and I've found my last 2 or 3 trips in there, I've focused on those areas, and it's paid off really well. So yeah, for me, I'm going to go and look at a few more of those areas, and I'm going to put game trail cameras up just so that I can go back and have a look and see what's going on come the time of the rut. And that's the purpose of the trip. Catching up with Dave Willie while we're there.
Oh, it's Dave going down.
Dave's going down, so I'll catch up with Dave. I think Derek, one of our other listeners, Dave's mate, he's going to be down there. And I had a conversation with somebody else yesterday who's going to try and catch up with us on one of the middle of the day afternoons, just to come say hi and have a yarn and just get some more tips and tricks on the park. So yeah, it'd be a good trip. I'm just looking to get away. Need to get some time in the bush. My wife says I'm cranky, so I'm going to go. It's been too long, so yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the time. Be good.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw more game animals. If you kind of look at the map and you're facing towards, facing to the north, as you said, I saw more game animals on what would be your left-hand side, than I saw on the fringe countryside. And we went. There's a boundary road and there's another road, and it eventually kind of terminates in the middle somewhere. It was obviously just a long
Duck Road or something like that.
No, not that. That's man, if I had a Nundle map, I could tell you. But and I'll see
You should have one to hand.
Yeah.
It's on that computer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's where I went the first day with Graham and the boy. We went in that way, so we went away from the fringe country into that part of Nundle. Just drove in, got to a crossroads, and said, "Okay, here's a place that's to park up," and went further on foot, and yeah, that's where we saw the pigs, and I'm sure I saw some deer on the first day, and on following days saw deer and stuff at distance in there. I wasn't really set up to hunt the year just gone with who I was hunting with most of the time. I was more guiding than anything, but we saw deer, and I saw more deer that way. And I think that's a wholly reasonable hypothesis that those animals are in there. There's enough in there, if not more than enough, to sustain them and keep them happy, that they don't need to move.
Yeah.
The fringe stuff looks really sexy. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I went down to that. There's that part where you drop down onto the fence line, and that was just full of game sign. But it was, that's where everyone's going to be.
Yeah, yep. And that's my theory. The last 3 times I've been in there, I've sort of worked that theory, and it's paid off really well. So, I just think. Come the rut, there's lots of people in and around that park, and it's just good to explore different habitat and figure out what's where and get away from the general hunting population. So yeah, that'd be good.
In fact, I can't think where it is. It's up near that farm country. There's the kind of the highest peak on Nundle, which is you can actually drive up to the top of it.
Yeah.
You just loop your way up. I went up there one morning with my son, and then when we came back down, and that's very close to that farm gate there up the northern end, we crossed the road and went straight into there. And we went for about an hour. We went about an hour and a half in there. There's old tracks and stuff like that, and it was starting to close out, but no one had been in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was it, and that looked like really. There was a fairly significant creek line down there, and I thought, well, if my boy was a bit more capable, we'd drop down and follow that creek line.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll get to do that. There's a couple of spots I'm looking at which have a good couple. So you'll go in sort of 3Ks, 4Ks, and then once you leave the road, you can go another 2 or 3Ks down that creek line on foot and not intersect another road. That to me is some of the gold you're looking for. There's that other area inside Nundle, sort of across from where we camped last time. So if you look at the area that we camped, which was sort of up near the phone tree, if you like, if you know where the selfie tree is, the cell tree, just sort of back from there and to the north, there's that big gully that's in there that often people look at and go, oh, this looks really good, but it's hellishly steep. I'm super keen to backpack hunt down into there when I can convince someone to come with me. It's probably not a hunt that I want to do on my own. Not until I go and explore it anyway, but it looks like bloody awesome country in there.
Yeah, we actually found something like that. So again, on that side, we turned in, and it looked like it was a little bit of an old quarry at the top.
Yeah.
And it was on an escarpment. It dropped straight down. There was a vehicle track to drive down if you wanted to, but it went straight down. Again, I thought, that's the kind of place that'd be very interesting just to follow that, walk that vehicle track down and get right into that gully system. If you needed to get the animal out, you could probably drive down in good weather. But yeah, that was another area where it just dropped out. And I think there was goats there. there.
Really?
The sign,
really?
I thought, that looks like goat sign. And the reason I saw it as goat sign was because the scat, and also it was on top of rocks. And generally you don't find that with deer.
Top of rocks is usually, what's names though?
Marsupials.
No, what are they called? I can't think. My memory's shot today. What are they called? Go down to Tasmania and look at them. Oh, your dog goes down the holes all the time.
Wombats.
Wombats
Yeah,
always shit on a rock.
Wombats don't. No, I don't mean like on top of it. I mean like there was rocks, like a rock,
Right.
and there was
when you
animals
said shit
had
on
been.
a rock.
No, I don't mean shit on a rock. That's wombat.
That's
But
wombats.
this is like, goat scat on, and it was on, or scat, and it was on top of rocks and stuff like that. Not like a single rock. So yeah,
It does sound goaty.
yes, very goaty. So I thought, that's interesting. So yeah, that was another place, because that was one you could park at the top and just kind of go, let's just walk down here and see what we can see, and then turn around and come back up.
Question for you. I know we probably can't legally answer this, but leasehold land.
Yes.
A few questions pop up from time to time about leasehold land.
Yes.
If you're walking through the park and you come to the section that is leasehold land, do you think you can traverse through leasehold land to get to another part of your hunter?
Yeah, I think you can. But doesn't it say on the map, do not go through this area? I'm pretty sure it says that.
Some of it does and some of it doesn't. So what if there's a gated track? I'm assuming, and I'll be wrong, and I'll find this out and we'll bring it up on the next podcast as a question. But I'm assuming if you're leasehold, then you've got to maintain that track and other people shouldn't have access to it. Some of the leasehold areas on the map say leasehold, no trespassing without permission from the PC. Others don't. So,
My view is, I would say no.
yeah, I'd certainly err on the side of caution and say that. But there's some very interesting leasehold sections on the map in the middle of nowhere. There's just like this chunk in the middle of the bush.
But it's a lease. So someone is, you would assume, exchanging currency to have exclusivity to that chunk of dirt, which is what a lease is. So I would assume that means what a normal lease is. So, for instance, if you lease an office space in Toowoomba, I can't just kind of come in and say, hey, let me walk through here while I'm going to, So, I kind of think it's
the question
leasehold.
comes up because if there's a gazetted road that runs through someone's property, you're allowed on that gazetted road because it's not their property. It's a road that runs through it. There's plenty, like if you go and have a look at the National Trail, for example, the National Trail runs along a lot of gazetted roads through people's farmland. Estdale's a good example. Estdale Station, you can't just go wandering around on Estdale Station, but there is a gazetted road that goes through it that the general public are allowed on, and they're not allowed to lock the gates and keep people out of it. Now, that's not leasehold land. That's a gazetted road that runs through the centre. It's a different thing.
Yes, that's a different thing.
I'm, and these are tricky questions. If a gazetted road runs through the leasehold land,
then you're allowed to trust.
Yeah, well, I know someone who has that. I know someone who has that exact structure down in Bow Desert, and they are obliged to keep that. It's a gate that they lock, but they're obliged to keep it open during the day, for instance, because they're able to say that at night it creates a security risk for their property.
Yeah.
So, but that's where the property is their property. They own it, but there is still a previous gazetted road running through it.
Yeah.
I thought leasehold was different to that, as in you own the lease on that, so it's a lease. I'm just calling up Nundle right now because I thought on those things it made it pretty clear. It said, don't go here without permission.
I'm looking at one right now. In a section of the park, there's two leaseholds on the screen that I'm looking at. One says no trespassing, the other one doesn't.
Yeah. Are you looking at Nundle? Because there's one that says, are you looking at the one that we call willow trees?
There's one to the left of willow trees, below Nundle Forest Way.
Because if you look at, those ones that have the hatching on it. So there's three. There's three on the Nundle map. There's one that says willow trees. There's a little hasn't got a name on it. There's a smaller rectangular section below Terrible Billy, and there is a larger section directly to the left of Terrible Billy. That's the three I can see. Now, if you go down to the legend down the bottom, it says leasehold exclusion, no trespass without express permission from the leasee. So it says on the legend.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it pretty obvious.
I was looking at Google Earth, and Google Earth doesn't have the ledger.
No,
it has the description. It has the description on the map rather than.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the map here, the forestry map says leasehold exclusion. No trespass. And in fact, by the fact it calls it trespass, it makes you assume that going on there without permission is deemed trespass unless you're somehow able to argue not. So it's saying no trespass.
Very good. Question answered.
I wouldn't go in.
Yeah. So naturally occurring asbestos. There you go.
What's up next? Preparations for the rut. We covered this a little bit, Mark, you and I on the last podcast, but there's quite a lot that goes into it, and I don't know. I think it'd probably be worth covering off what you're doing on public land versus private land, and let's talk about public land for a minute because that's where the majority of our focus seems to be here. What plans have you got leading up to the rut? assuming you're attending hunt camp this year, there's a rumor you might be attending hunt camp this year.
That is a rumor. I'm yet to confirm, but that is a rumor. I can acknowledge that is a rumor.
Is there any specific things that you do prior to that?
Well, the fact that it's a rumor, so to be honest, the fact that it's a rumor means that my preparation will be, I'm going, and then to get gone. So that's going to be unfortunate. However, if I was to say that I was in a position where I knew I was going, I would certainly have a different approach to it, and that would be I would be scouting. I would be scouting, both e-scouting and scouting on foot. In fact, I would probably, if I knew I was going, I would probably be going with you tomorrow, and I would be setting up trail cameras. And the way I've been using trail cameras, and as I mentioned before, is I'm trying to bracket. So I'm trying to get an understanding of where game is and isn't, so I can be more selective in my hunting. So I want to bracket. So I would be going down more than once, and I would be checking the cameras, and if they weren't producing where they were, I would be moving them. I want a bracket game, most definitely. And there is some kind of, in Nundle system, there is not sure things, but there is certain areas that you're going to do a lot better than others, or your chances are that if you just kind of lob in, you'll do better than others. What's really interesting this year, and just not this year, but what is really interesting is the red population.
Yeah, what a few coming down.
That is really interesting, and I'd really want to try. If I had the opportunity, I'd actually I'd almost be thinking more about reds than I would be about fallow. If I had the opportunity this year, and in the next year, I'd be thinking about reds, because Haroon's just gone back down and shot a fallow and a red. And we had another, I can't think of his name now, a guy basically reached out to us. It might have been Mitchell, I think his name. He first day he lobs into that forest, bang, shoots a pig and a red. So there's reds around. And I saw red. I'm sure I saw red prints when I was down there. They were big deer prints, so they're red. So I'd actually be really looking at reds, and reds are a bit different in terms of scoping them out than fallow. Fallow, you're trying to find, different type. You're looking for different kind of things. Because generally, the way that reds kind of move in and move out. So I'd want to know those kind of areas where the reds are coming from and where they're going to. When you see reds outside of the raw, they kind of battle up a bit, and they move around a bit. They seem to be very friendly and all. They like each other, and they're kind of like on an extended golf holiday, and then all of a sudden girls get involved and they try and murder each other, and then after that they go back to being mates again. But they move a lot more. So
this hunt that I was just on, we saw a mob of, I think there was 12 stags, young stags, but all mobbed up together. They were all hanging around together,
and they're moving too. They're moving because they're breeding. Their approach breeding is different to fallow. So I would be, if I was going to look for reds at Nundle and Hanging Rock, of course, getting into Hanging Rock is pretty hard, but if you get into Hanging Rock, I would want to be knowing where they're moving to and from. And what I would really be interested is finding hinds.
Yeah.
Finding hinds. That would be really, really, if I got a trail camera and it had lots of hinds, I'd be going, no, that's an interesting place to be, because the red stags will hunt up those hinds and then try and create harems and cut them off and all that kind of stuff they do. But so I'd be really interested in where the hinds are at.
Should be interesting in the roar then to be hearing reds roaring as opposed to the fallow croaking. They're there.
Different. You'd have to go a bit earlier, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Generally, the season is different.
End of March, but yeah.
Well, that's what you used to do. When I had old time up my sleeve and all that kind of stuff, we'd hunt reds and then go hunt fallow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What then, in your opinion, thinking about Nundle and Hanging Rock, my opinion of where you're going to find reds, I mean, you find both fallow and red on that fringe country. They like their improved pasture, but I tend to find the reds favour that more than the fallow. I find that the fallow are more than happy to make, a habitat, a range, in the middle of the forests and not interact with the farmland at all. Whereas the reds, I mean, they say that, hunting reds in New Zealand, they don't necessarily do that either. A lot of the reds that I know have been taken out of Nundle have all been interacting with that farmland to a degree. Do you have an opinion on that?
I think fallow are kind of like goats, in that the way that they'll establish themselves in an area. As long as that area can support them, they'll establish themselves in that area. It has to have the things that they need to sustain life, but they kind of establish themselves in areas, and then they kind of slowly migrate. They slowly move, and that's why they continue to spread. Is that they move. Red, as you said, I think it's the difference between a browse and a grazing animal. And you're right. In certain places, reds will browse like they do in New Zealand. In that really heavy. You see them hunting reds in New Zealand. They're in super heavy stuff, and they go, "Look, there's a red." You kind of go, "What are you looking at?" That's oh, look, I can see a tine. And that's different. I mean, I think that's because of more the fact that that's the country that they're in, so they got to live in it. But I agree. If a red will seem to be more comfortable standing in more open country or favouring more open country than a fallow does.
Yeah.
Whereas a fallow will kind of go, if there's food, shelter, water, and girls here, this will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the fallow and Nundle have been hit pretty hard, so I think that kind of has displaced them a lot more. I think that the reds are, I mean, there's always been a few taken, but never in this number before. So I think they've moved in, and I don't think they've really know what they're doing just yet. I think their patterns are going to change as they spend more time in the park, as long as they don't all get shot by being stupid. But I think they're staying where the easy feed is for the moment, hence they're hanging on that farm fringe country.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree.
And I think that also gets into the kind of argument how they got there and where do they, and if they're moving to and through Nundle, then there's likelihood that they've come off farmland type, more open into the forest type thing. So there is that. So they, that's kind of the habitat they're coming from. Whereas if the fallow are far more established in Nundle, then the fallow are probably more likely to, adapt to the Nundle environment, which is generally, a heavy forest environment.
Yeah.
And the thing is about getting displaced is, I mean, the single greatest thing that displaces fallow in Nundle is logging.
Yeah.
That displaces everything. You go bang, well, they've logged this area, and bang, it's just now open. It's all gone. So that obviously that displaces them, and it's not, they don't log. It's not lethal logging, like they're not going in there and shooting everything and then logging. It's just they do their stuff, so that animals would just kind of go, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
So,
well, it'll be interesting to see. Might even put some time in down there in early March and see what goes on. But
yeah.
Yes.
So it's different, very different to up Brisbane Valley, because we know the deer are there. And it's been really it hasn't made a lot of sense in a lot of ways. So like the 2022 roar was the best roar I'd ever been involved in. There was just like you just kind of shut up, stop screaming at me, go away. That was just everywhere. Just kind of go, oh, there's one there, there's one there. the first morning I think I saw 8 just roaring their heads off, and I just went, I'm not going to shoot anything. I'm just going to take video and walk around. But I thought, oh, that's where we're at. And then 2023 was just disastrous. They just didn't come off the hill, so I could hear them. They just stayed up high. Don't know why. That's what they did. So it's very difficult to, and I think that's also, that's a challenge of, there's the historic activity and then what it's like on the day that you lob up there or the year you're in there. So it's very difficult to say what it's going to be like because there's not a lot of deer sign on the block at the moment, but there's more deer sign now than there was before because there's less cattle.
Yeah.
So the last year there was the most cattle ever seen on those blocks, and maybe that's exactly why. There was a less deer. The cattle basically pushed the deer up into the hills, and the deer stayed up in the hills. So that's hard. It's hard. It's really, and I mean, I got that trail cam image of that deer with the near tag. I have no idea where that thing came from.
Yeah,
there's no, within sight distance. There's no one keeping deer at the level that they're tagging them.
Can't script these things. You never know what's going to happen. But I've got a concept in mind that I want to show people the different types of habitat that we've found deer in. I want to show people how I locate that habitat, what I find when I'm in there, how to read some of the sign that we're looking at. Granted, it's going to be old, but there's going to be browse and things like that you get to look at and just see that things are eating. Rubs aren't going to have happened yet. You're going to find old stuff from last year, but it gives you an idea that things live in that area. So I'm just going to point some of those things out. If we're lucky enough to stumble across some deer, which I expect that we will, if I can zero in on a yearling, I'd like to take a yearling out. I've got some of the guys that are in camp. I'll give them a hand to get some meat. If they struggle with it, if they don't, then there's more than enough people back here that are willing to put their hand up and take some venison. So we'll do that. And I'll go through the process of breaking it down in the field, showing you some of those skills and what you need to do to get it back to camp. That's pretty much it. We'll have the challenge of heat. It's going to be warm. So some of that's going to have to be pretty quick. We're going to have to understand what to do with that animal to cool it down as fast as we can. And I'll just take people through the process that I go through to get deer home. So come along for the ride. As I said, we looked at the first couple of parts and it looks really good. Hey, about that heat thing, Jono, I know that you've in the past thrown deer into creeks.
Yes, we have. Yes.
Which is really interesting because they're told to never do that. So explain what it was.
So we did that. That was end of October last year. It was really, really hot. We were culling red hinds, same as we just did a couple of weeks ago. End of the year, cull them for the farmer. We shot quite a few right at late afternoon, and it was a stinking hot day. And we had 3 or 4 to process, and we couldn't get to them. So there was a nice deep, freshwater flowing creek, nice deep pool. We just chucked them in with the skin on, or we'd gutted them in the field. We just chucked them in the creek just to drop that temperature. We didn't leave them for an extended amount of time. They didn't absorb too much water or anything like that. But that's actually an old New Zealand thing, is chucking them in the creeks. And it's just to chill the carcass, just to keep that temperature down, keep the flies off them. Worked really, really well. You just got to make sure there's no lots of bugs and things like that crawling in them. But they were clean as, because it was nice, clean water. So I wouldn't do it if it was stinking green, algae-rich water. But it was nice, fresh, clean, flowing water, nice deep pool. So we just chucked the carcasses in just to keep them cool, and it really drops the temperature pretty quick. Yeah. So basically, you're just washing the heat out of them, aren't you? Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's an old New Zealand trick.
What other tricks have you got, or tips have you got for getting carcasses cooled right down?
Oh, so for what I do is I like to get the guts out as quickly as possible, and then I tend to I carry like a mutton. It's called mutton cloth, like a cloth comes in a big mutton cloth, comes in a tube, and I actually put that cheesecloth. That's the other name. And I actually put the whole carcass, just cover the whole carcass, tie it off top and tail, and that keeps the flies off it and allows the wind just to blow a little bit. Get it in the shade. That's another important thing. Just get it out of that sunlight, just to keep it keep the flies off and try and get it chilled a little bit, and then get it quartered and on ice as quickly as possible.
Are you skinning it?
Generally would skin it, yes, to try and help that heat dissipation. Yeah, definitely.
Because
Otherwise, that skin holds a lot of heat.
That's it. And there's also a fair bit of evidence that they actually get hotter after you kill them. Because because there's no circulation. So there's a period of the temperature goes up because there's no circulation. So the heat is not being dissipated by the animals' heat dissipation systems. So you've kind of captured that heat in that animal. So, so it's really important to get that heat out of them as quick as you can. And, the two best thing to do is to drop the guts out of it, because that's a huge heat source and opens up the insides and that lots of heat. Yep. And the other thing is get the skin off, because, again, that's also letting the heat off. So I do the same. I usually try and break it up too, because, again, that just has less mass, so there's more surface area, so there's going to be more ability for heat to dissipate. What I have learnt, though, is don't stick it straight on ice, because it melts the ice.
Yeah, you want to let it cool a little bit.
Yeah, you've got to let it cool a little bit before you put it in, because what you'll do is you'll actually put something that's so many degrees in your esky, and it'll actually start to melt the ice. And that's where I find the cartridge to be invaluable. So before I put them in the esky, I put them in the cartridge, because the cartridge even struggles. You can watch the temperature go, struggle with the heat, but it is still trying to keep them. It's still trying to cooling, and then put them on ice. But that's that, because I usually try and take some meat during summer. I didn't want to take any. And the other thing is, if I'm doing summer hunts, I'll hunt in the morning and take meat in the morning rather than the afternoon.
Yeah, certainly you're not going to be in the heat of the day. I mean, most of the hunting we do is morning and evening, and both morning and evening it cools down. Especially up at Nundle, it can get down even in summer. Yeah. You're getting down to 10 degrees. That's plenty cold enough to be dealing with an animal in the bush. And you just got to take your time with it. The other thing that I would mention is take that animal. Get the guts out of it, get a couple of sticks, split the rib cage so that you can open that cavity up and really get some airflow into it. Even if you've got to sit and wait for a bit to let it cool down a little bit before you stuff it in your pack, because a lot of us will then break that down and put it in a pack, and then you've got meat on meat inside a bag. Yep. It's not getting rid of any heat that way. Hanging it is not a bad idea, and just take your time. I mean, yes, it's going to get dark. Big deal. It's dark. It's probably going to be dark on the way out anyway if you're already worried about the light. So just chill out and take your time and do the best you can with the meat. And I find even in summer, the cool evenings tend to help. And the morning's
it's cool enough to hang a carcass.
Yeah, well, Nundle and stuff like that it's cool enough to at least give you a chance to get going. I mean, it's a lot different up in Brisbane Valley at the moment. I mean, it's just stinking hot,
sweaty.
Yes,
very sweaty.
And in the afternoon and evening, it doesn't really cool much. That's why I tend to, if I'm going to take game, I'm going to take it, just after dawn type thing, and I want to have it on ice and back in the cartridge and then on ice pretty early on in that morning.
Yeah,
because in the afternoon it's just you can't dissipate that heat. So that's a big, but again, as I said, Nundle's a lot different. It's in fact, Nundle was the first place I ever hung deer in trees because it was cool enough to do that.
Yeah.
Before that, it was quick, break it down, get it out of here real quick. Yeah. So with that, if you do take animals, you're gonna share out the meat with friends. You were mentioning about some time ago about we were looking about different ways of preparing food and meals from deer, and that's something I myself feel that's probably my weaker point. Actually, turning into things. So, is there anything that if you are taking meat or the meat you've got, you're processing as it too? You're experimenting with new new interesting cooking methods, or are you doing the tried and true, grind it up, make it hamburgers and
don't do that. I've never ever done that. Very, very rarely do I ever put any of the meat into a mincer. So for starters, probably for the last 15 years, I've done the traditional hunter's cuts. The shoulders come off, the back legs come off, the back straps come off. If I haven't turned the inside to soup, I go for the loins. And every now and then I'll take the heart, but usually I'm shooting heart lungs, so I don't bother with anything inside the chest cavity. I don't care whether the tenderloins look clean or not on a fallow. They're so small anyway. I'm just not, if there's soup in that cavity, they're just staying there. The great thing about the way that animals are constructed is that pretty much everything other than those tenderloins and the heart are protected from the inside cavity. You can take the legs, the back straps, and the front shoulders off, and it's not going to get tainted by any of that stuff, which is why you can do a gutless method, right? So that's traditionally how I've always done it. I don't tend to do that anymore. I'm trying very, very hard now to break the carcass down into 3 pieces. So if you think about the carcass upright in its natural form after it's been gutted, right? If you flip it upside down so the gut cavity is facing upwards, and you've got the hole where the pelvis bone is, right? So if you're thinking about how the pelvis bone looks, there's the hole that goes out to the tail and where the arse and all that sort of stuff was before you gutted it out. About an inch up from there, there's a gap in the spine. If you cut straight across that, you remove the entire back half of it. So you've got basically the last bit of the back strap, all the rumps, and both legs joined at the pelvis still, and that's one section that I take with it. The other end of the carcass, if you look inside the carcass after you've gutted it and you come back 6 ribs on both sides and cut it straight across after the 6th rib, you then take both the shoulders off together. 2 very simple cuts, and you get excellent quality butchering that you can now do separately, right? So that middle section is now still got the back straps on it, plus the ribs. If you're carrying a bone saw or something like that, you can take some of the rib off so they're not as long. But basically, you're taking back the whole frame with the chops. And I really, really like venison chops. If you think about a fallow deer, and if you take 2 back straps off, thinking about the size of a back strap, how many meals do you get out of one side of back strap? How many meals do you think you're going to get? 2? You and me going to eat a backstrap between the 2 of us?
I actually
3. 2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3.
With the backstraps, we generally cut them out if we're in camp. We'll eat them at camp that night. We'll usually cut them up, and we'll actually just kind of have sizzle backstraps.
Yes,
I generally don't bother taking the backstraps out of camp because we've eaten them.
Yeah, I guess my point is, 1 backstrap, 2 hungry blokes could probably eat 1 backstrap between the 2 of them. 3 for sure. You're probably going to want some more. If you take that frame back out and you turn it into chops, how many chops do you normally have in a sitting? You get a lot more meal out of the animal if you turn it into chops, leave the rib meat on, leave a lot of the rib flap on it, and you just get an absolutely delicious meal, that's different just to the standard backstrap. The other thing too is if you then go and slice the backstrap, the rib flap off, and you just take it off and peel it off like skin, then you've got a sensational meal just in the rib flap that you can roll herbs and cheese and stuff into it. Yeah, roll that, it up, tie it up, slow cook it, right? Just slow cook it really, really slow. And once it comes out of the slow cooker, slice it into, 1-inch-wide sections and just sear it off on a pan. And that is just absolutely delicious. If you try and just roast that normally, it'll be chewy as hell. It's disgusting. You've got to slow roast that stuff. So that's the sort of stuff you can get off it if you take the animal out in a different way. It's a bit more cumbersome, but you take the pelvis off with the 2 legs intact, you get that in your pack. A fallow, you get that in your pack. It's not too much of an issue. And you can easily carry the inside frame. It's not heavy, but you can carry that out, wrapped in the mutton cloth, and you can just do a lot more with it. So hopefully that answers your question.
So with that approach, basically you're butchering the animal into what you might call like the meat processing. So you're getting steaks and roasts and the chops, as you said. Are you actually doing anything else with are you making any other meals with it? I suppose I'm wondering how to move away from just like the butcher shop. So it's just like a series of chops and things like that. I'm really interested in where to take the meat next in terms of processing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty traditional, but I'm probably more traditional from a South African perspective. We go for the biltong pieces. I don't make too much biltong here in Brisbane just because it's so hot and humid, and I don't really like it dried in a box with a light and a fan. I find it makes it quite tough. I actually make more jerky. The kids love the jerky. I've got a dehumidifier, nice and thin, season it, and then I dry it. The kids love it. I love it. I make quite a bit of jerky, but otherwise, we eat a lot of mince. So we do a lot of spaghetti bolognese. We do nachos. So make with the mince that we do. So all the offcuts, I usually take the shoulders. And it also depends on the time of the year. So now that we're coming into summer, I don't do a lot of slow cooked meals. I find it's too hot. We'll do a lot of bolognese. We do a lot of nachos. So venison mince nachos, beautiful. You can pre-cook it. You can make a huge batch and then chuck it in the freezer if you want, and then just defrost it, chuck it on the nachos. Beautiful. Absolutely love nachos. That's a nice one. The kids love it as well. Biltong, as I said, jerky. But I think this year I'm going to give the chops a try. That's a new one. I've never really done that way. I think I'm pretty keen on doing that. I love chops. I love lamb chops.
It's so easy.
Why not enjoy venison chops? So I'm going to have to get Ian to show me that one.
It's so easy. It's literally cut, done. You're in 3 pieces and you're on your way out.
Because that approach you're talking about is how mate Darcy breaks up an animal. That's how he does it. He breaks it up like he's a butcher. So he'll end up, and he'll separate the animal, and then there'll be the forequarters and the hindquarters together, and he'll say, well, we'll take this part for a roast, or we do this, or chops and things like that. So I'm keen to actually. I like the idea of. Are they short chops? Is that what you call a short chop? Because they're a short rib chop. Not sure. That idea of having a chop.
My audio comes back,
and the boys love them too. So we could do them. Yep. So we could do it on do it on the Weber and just hand them out and away they go.
Exactly.
I really like that idea.
Little meat lollipops.
I'm keen, especially after summer, to try and get into the sausages and small goods and stuff like that. That's what I really like to get into.
Mm-hmm. Good for the kids as well.
Yeah,
very interactive.
Yeah, I would like to really get into that. So I want to kind of. It's something that says traditionally it hasn't been part of our family. It's not something I've done a lot in, but I'm keen to get more into it. That's for sure.
And the other thing I'm going to try is making salami. Never made salami. That's going to be something I'm going to try. I've actually got an old fridge, and I bought a humidity controller and a temperature controller, and I'm going to be trying to make salami. That's going to be another challenge.
I'm so keen to make salamis.
There's a thing I've seen advertised. There's like a salami system that's like a cabinet, and I can't think of the name of them.
I've seen them. Yeah.
Yes.
They're expensive.
They are. Someone was talking about it.
Salumi or something like that. They call
something like that. Yeah. I was reading someone on Facebook. They said, since I've got this, I've done, this and that. And I went, that sounds fantastic. I wonder what they are.
I watched a video on YouTube where you get one. I watched a video on YouTube where you can get an old fridge. You need a humidity controller and a temperature controller, and you can make your own salami fridge. So I've got one. I've got all of it. I just need to basically
do it. That's it. I don't know if I've come back into sync with audio, but I was talking to Zully, who was someone else who listens to the podcast and has come on a hunt with us out to the Pilliga. He used to raise chickens little, hatchlings.
Yeah.
And he had all of that humidity control gear at that point, all the controllers and everything. It's actually really cheap, this stuff. So I'm going to lean on him to figure out how to make it. My brain, I don't understand how the hell to get this stuff to work, but I bought a wine fridge, so glass door wine fridge, which is perfect for hanging salamis in. And our conditions up here less humid. We should be able to make a pretty good product. The problem with making salamis is you've got to understand the colors of colors of the molding as they come on, because they tell you different things about what's going on with it. And I'm colorblind, so I'm just worried I'm going to eat rotten sausage, which is not ideal for what we want to do. But Mark, going back to your comments a minute ago about doing different things with the animal and getting used to it, being able to make those chops.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to make that's a
rotten sausage.
That's a target for 2024. Get into making small goods.
Yeah, do it.
Cool. Well, I think, gents, Ian probably wants to get ready for his trip tomorrow to Nundle. Anything else before we wrap up for the night?
No, I think we're about there. I'm really keen to see how you go. That's for sure. I'm sure other people are too. It's a forest that draws a lot of attention, so it'd be interesting to see what it's like this time of year. And what animal sign is moving around, because it'll probably give you a good indicator of what's coming.
Have either of you actually been to Nundle in December?
In December? No.
Not December.
No.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah, should be.
Cool. Well, let us know how you go, mate. We're going to be eagerly awaiting the updates.
No doubt. I've got my spotlight ready. Oh, no, you're not allowed to use it. All right, we're out.
Just don't jump the fence. That's all.
There you go. Okay. I'm going to end it with a joke.
Oh, good.
What do you get if you cross goat DNA with human DNA? I don't know, but you should lose your R license over it.
That's a terrible joke.
All right, I think we should end on that note.
On that one, we're out of here.
Okay.
See yous.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. See ya.